Hello and welcome to Steering the Ship in Springfield Township podcast. SHIP is an acronym for Service, Hospitality, Innovation, and People. I'm your host, Robert Leininger. Here in Springfield Township, Ohio, our goal is to turn everyday interactions into moments that matter. Whether someone calls for help, visits a township office, attends a community event, or drives through our neighborhoods, those experiences shape their view of Springfield Township. That's what Springfield Township hospitality is all about. It's the idea that government services can be delivered with competence, professionalism, empathy, kindness, and respect. Today, I'm joined by a public servant who exemplifies those values every day. Police Captain Nick Peterson, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Steering the Ship podcast.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. We've worked together for many years, but for the listeners who may not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into law enforcement?
Certainly. So, as the Chief said, I'm Nick Peterson, and I have worked at Springfield Township since 2000. I've been a member of the department since then. My journey into law enforcement really started in the mid to late 90s, I guess, 1996-ish, 6 or 7. I ended up becoming affiliated with the police department through the police exploring program, and that was put on by the Springfield Township Police Department through the Dan Beard Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and it was the purpose was for kids, say teenagers aged 13 through up to 21, to become familiar with law enforcement and see exactly what police officers do on a daily basis. And a couple of friends of mine actually were in law enforcement exploring posts at Delhi and Hamilton County. And after hearing them talk about their experiences there, I, living in Springfield Township at the time, decided to reach out to the police department and see if that was something that I could literally explore. And came to the department, became a member of the Explorer Post, and I had the fortune in my late teens to be able to experience what would become my career through the exploring program. So I spent a couple years as an explorer and learned a ton about police work and how it's done in this area. In 2000, the police department began a cadet program. So I applied for that and was fortunate enough to be hired as the first police cadet for Springfield Township. And from there, my time started as an employee, and I've been doing it here ever since. So I've been very fortunate to be able to spend my whole career here in Springfield Township, the last almost 26 years.
Well, it's been a pleasure serving with you over those years. What attracted you to Springfield Township, and what has kept you here? I mean, obviously they've invested a lot into you. I would consider you a negotiable commodity right now. Police officers are in demand. So why are you staying here and you're not looking elsewhere?
Well, my initial attraction to the township was through that exploring experience. And when I came here as an explorer, I found that the officers in Springfield Township at that time in the late 90s were among the best of the best. There was a lot of things going on in the community. I found that this was a very diverse community, that you, depending on what you wanted to do in law enforcement, you could do it here. And that was everything from traffic enforcement. You could go out and be proactive. You could go out and spend time in the community. There were so many different areas of opportunity within the township that there was no reason for me to leave. Once I got here and experienced the caliber of officers that we had, the training that we were given, the management, everything from the fire department, public works, everybody seemed to work together. So there was nothing about the township that that has put me in a position where I would want to leave.
Well, that's great to hear.
And so it's made it
Yeah.
easy. For 26 years, it really has. There's not been a time where I have had to sit back and think about what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. My journey through my career has been extremely fortunate in that timing is everything. But the people who brought me into law enforcement at the time, both exploring advisors, police officers, field training officers, my supervisors, they've all given me the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, and it was a matter for me of just seizing those opportunities, keeping my goals in mind. I had some very good mentors early on that explained to me the importance of setting goals, short and long-term goals, and working toward them, if not both at the same time, making sure that you're continuing to work toward them. And I will say early on, my first year as a police officer, we were asked to make baseball cards to hand out to kids.
I remember those.
And I remember being asked to put a quote on the back, and I hadn't been a police officer very long, but those interactions with my FTOs, with sports coaches in high school, brought me to the quote, "Do your best at everything that you do, and you'll be successful." And that was the quote I put on the back of the card. That has driven me from high school sports all the way through where I am today, and I still believe that if you follow that, you will likely be successful. Even in moments where you fail, you'll find some form of success that'll come out of that.
I love that. If you look at successful people, they have either had a mentor that has shared that, or they find encouragement through quotes, or something that they see. And today with social media, they're being inundated with all these secrets to success and all this kind of stuff. But it's normally the little things, that little quote, or little things that happen along the way, and a lot of encouragement from people that are in your corner.
Yes.
That makes a big difference. Good. Well, when I was preparing for our interview today, I went to a couple of leaders in law enforcement, and I told them who I was going to have as a guest, and they said the exact same thing. They said that you have done it all. That when you started your career as a cadet, and then you transitioned into a patrol officer, and then you even went on to oversee, well, now you're overseeing operations. You were involved in the drug task force, working with federal agencies. I know you've been working with local agencies as well as county agencies. So can you touch on that a little bit about your involvement with some of these special task forces and special ops?
Sure. So as I said before, I've been given a lot of opportunities to do different things, and coming into the early years of police work, I had some time as an explorer, and as I said, some time as a cadet to see a lot of different things, and that led me into field training, being a field training officer, being able to train new officers that are coming out on the road. Eventually, I put in for and was accepted to our START team, which was a tactical team, and really took a liking to tactics and firearms. Became a firearm training officer, and through that started getting more into the training aspect of law enforcement, and became certified in several different disciplines for training. So my early time was spent learning things to the point where I could teach other people in training, and I think that was a catalyst to some of the other positions that I came into later on. So as you said, I spent some time in our impact unit, one of the founding members of our impact unit, which was at that time was very heavily involved in getting out into the community and talking to community members and dealing with specific issues that were happening in the community. So anything from rashes of vehicle break-ins to drug complaints, things like that. So, and that was in the mid 2000s. 2000, I think 7 was when that started. So, spent some time doing that, and was exposed to drug investigations at that time. And when I finally got promoted to sergeant, I spent time in our investigations section as the supervisor in there for a couple of years, and then came back out and supervised the impact unit on the road for about 2 years. And then the opportunity with the drug task force came up, and I ended up spending about 5 years working with the DART drug task force. And that opened my eyes to how much of an impact we, even as we'll say a decent sized community, but a smaller community in the grand scheme of things in this area, how much of an impact we can have even outside of just Springfield Township, and how things happening outside of Springfield Township can have such a big impact on what's going on inside the township. So that broad view of everything going on in law enforcement, for me, gave me the perspective to be able to come back to the department, in especially in my current role, and understand how cooperation and working together, not only amongst Springfield Township departments, but with outside agencies, is so crucial to us all doing our jobs. And that plays right into the hospitality mindset of doing things as a team in order to make everybody's world and lives better. That's what we're here for.
Now, you're a captain, so
Yes.
obviously being a chief of a paramilitary structure, for the viewers, kind of explain where captain fits in the police ranks. I know you're second in charge. Is that kind of
Yes.
kind of how that is as far as your rank?
That's correct. So at the police department, the highest ranking officer there is our chief, Chris Niehaus. I'm the captain, so second in command at the police department. We then have lieutenants that are in charge of both administrative and patrol functions.
Okay.
And then sergeants who oversee they directly supervise patrol, supervise our investigation section, impact, and different other members of the department. And then our patrol officers and detectives are at the line level, we'll say.
Yeah, most people think police departments are just out there enforcing laws or catching bad guys. But, you know, I am so amazed and also very proud of what the police department not only has accomplished because of your accreditations and all that, but you do so much. I mean, you got a drone program and you've got investigations, and it seems like if there's something innovative out there, you got your hands on it. Now, it may not be as big as what the city can offer or something like that, but if there's an opportunity for us to use innovation and use that to our advantage for code enforcement, or better yet, just public service. If there's a way that we can do something better, obviously we want to do that.
Yes, and we always look for opportunities to leverage technology, stay on the cutting edge of different, innovative ideas that are coming out in law enforcement and in local government in general. And I think that's one of the things that makes us unique. And again, going back to my early days in law enforcement, one of the things that really kept me going in police work was the fact that we had so many opportunities to have our officers involved in training and major task forces and things in this region. There's so many opportunities there. And so as an agency that really pushed our officers to be trainers in specific areas, as I said before, tactics, law enforcement response to critical incidents, and just different uses of tools and things that we had at our disposal, we had the ability to go out and actually not only train our own people, but train people outside of our department. So we had our finger on the pulse of innovation early on, and at least from my standpoint in my career, and that really catapulted here, especially with everything that's going on in law enforcement now,
Yes.
with innovation, the adoption of different technologies. Every day we turn around, there's something new, and certainly we can't jump into everything. But we do look for those areas that we can get involved with that are going to give us the ability to give our residents and the people who are going through and that we serve in Springfield Township the best service possible. And so utilization of drones, bike patrol, different equipment that we have with our cruisers on our belts, internal processes that we look at on a regular basis, and we check and see if there's something we could be doing better. And if there's something there and it's something that we can do, then we do our best to bring it in and make sure that we're utilizing it and leveraging it.
Well, I know one of the ones that's probably the most popular is we have canines.
We do.
Yeah. Now, I'm a little intimidated by the dogs, but I know that they're well trained, and the kids love it. I mean, the kids come up and love on them and pet them and everything, but I keep my distance. Yeah, the dogs are very, very popular.
They are. They're a great tool. I mean, they serve a huge purpose in our roles in keeping the community safe and keeping ourselves safe when we do our jobs, but they also do serve that community outreach, community engagement piece for us as well. So
Yeah.
they're awesome to have around. And just from the standpoint of we'll say, that's just the therapy of having a dog around. I mean,
Yeah.
it is nice
Yeah.
for those who are,
Sure.
are willing to come close to it.
Yeah. Well,
They are,
I shouldn't say I'm intimidated. More, I have respect for them.
Yes, absolutely. I do too. I do too.
But they're awesome animals. Just love them. You know, the term Springfield Township hospitality may be new to some of our listeners. From a police captain's perspective, what does it mean to treat residents, visitors, and businesses with hospitality while still performing your law enforcement duties?
So in law enforcement, it can be hard at times to find those places where hospitality jumps out at you. Most of the time when we are called, we're not getting called to go hang out at somebody's graduation party or on their best day. So for us, it means being intentional and looking for those opportunities where we can go above and beyond for somebody. It really encompasses empathy, bringing empathy in, and even though we may have a negative interaction with somebody, I like to say it's free to be nice to people, and it really is. Even when somebody is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, I have a job to do. When I get my job done and things have calmed down, there's nothing that says I can't have a conversation with somebody and find out maybe what might have played into their decision to do what they did. And we've been doing that for years, and I think most recently with the idea of being more intentional with hospitality, we can look for those areas where not only do we get an understanding of why somebody's doing something or going through a certain thing in their lives, but also maybe look for areas to go beyond that call and help them out or be of service to them, more so than maybe you would see in other communities. So I do think the vast majority of police officers, if you ask them, and firefighters and anybody really in public service, why did you get into doing what you're doing? Most people will answer because I want to help people. I want to be the person who somebody calls and I have the answer, or I'm able to pull through for somebody in their time of need. And I think that is a true statement for the vast majority, and I think that that's accurate. Hospitality allows you to do that and also come away from even negative experiences with people with maybe a little bit more of an understanding of them and maybe some help on the backside that makes you feel even better about what you're doing. On a daily basis, you know, sometimes we have a tendency to, as police officers, to look at certain things that happen and kind of categorize them on the scale of something that may be really bad in somebody's life and something that may not really rise to the level, at least from our perspective, of being a really bad incident. But from the hospitality perspective, anytime somebody's calling the police, they're probably not having a good day.
Right.
There's most likely in their life that is probably one of the worst things that they have gone through or could be going through. And so going into those interactions with the understanding that that just my presence there is probably something they didn't plan on having that day. So what can I do to ease their mind just walking up to the scene and talking to them and lending a listening ear? Or how can I go about doing my job, but in the end leaving it better than I showed up? Kind of that Boy Scout mindset. Leave it better than you found it. So that, in my opinion, it kind of encompasses the idea of hospitality on the road and when we're dealing with people.
Man, that is so powerful, Nick. That's it. You nailed it. The other thing that I think as we start doing more hospitality, I think the employees are kind of surprised with the satisfaction and sometimes the gratification that they get just by having those conversations or giving the time to listen, and to seeing the response that the residents give us, the response of respect or the response of appreciation and that type of thing. And that makes you feel good. I mean, that's why we got into this business.
Yes.
We all have a servant heart. We want to help people, and there's opportunities there. And it's just a different mindset. You shift it a little bit. And instead of being responsive to the 911 call, you're responsive, but then you have an opportunity to listen. And maybe you're more effective at times listening and offering some guidance. And that could be mental health resources. It could be, other things. But sometimes they just want to be listened to. They just want to be heard.
You're right, and that happens more often than I think people know. Just having a listening ear, listening to somebody, even if you can't solve their problem, sometimes just listening to them, hearing what they have to say, and maybe validating what they're thinking or what they're feeling is all they needed.
Yep.
And we have the ability to do that. Sometimes you have to slow down and take a minute to really understand what your role is on those calls, but it's there.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this since we're into the customer service piece now, but I want to talk about the first impressions and how important that is to you. I know that whenever I see you, you always look professional. I mean, you stay in shape. I know your uniform's always neat, and so that first impression is so important. It shows professionalism, the way you speak, the way you talk to people, and you have conversations. You're very articulate. You're a good listener. All those type of things are important when trying to establish that first impression. But for many people that don't get to interact with police very often, how important are those first impressions with people?
I appreciate you saying that, and it's extremely important, especially for younger people. Younger people not having really developed a feeling one way or another for law enforcement. That could be the first time that they have interacted with us, and that could make or break how they would interact in the future. So I think all of our interactions are important. Younger kids being able to get out in the community at the schools, at festivals, at different township events, and spend time talking to these kids and showing them that not only are police officers human, and we are very much so, but also letting them know that maybe some of the things that they've heard or seen may not be exactly accurate, or could be accurate from the perspective of the person that they're talking to, but that's not how it always is. And so I think those first impressions are very important. for adults, it's the same way. A first impression can be a first impression for that person with you as a person. So it may not be the first time they dealt with a police officer, but it could be it'll be the first time they dealt with me. And so maybe they had a negative interaction in the past because of circumstances that were out of their control or out of the police officer's control, or something may have happened. But that doesn't mean that we have to not have a good impression with me or with Springfield Township. I do think, speaking of what you talked about early on with just how you look, how you dress, I think that when you approach, I guess, life from the idea that every interaction you have with somebody is a statement of who you are, both as a person. I think my name, I was raised that you don't disrespect your name.
Yes.
That's something that you have for your life, and so you don't disrespect that, and you don't disrespect anything that involves that, including, for us, the police department, the patch, the township, our profession. If you look at all of that and do your best to bring credit to it, you're going to put your best foot forward as much as possible in those first interactions with people. So always thinking of the idea that you're representing yourself, you're representing your family, you're representing who you work for, those who have hired you. I'm representing the citizens of Springfield Township. When I'm in the township or outside of the township, if I'm dealing with other agencies, that's very big for me, and that's why I think you see some of the things that you see. And that was ingrained in me early. It's not only from my raising, from my childhood, but also, again, as I spoke before, mentors and officers that came before me.
Boy, that is so important, the mentors. But let me give you a compliment, and that is, you were the same person the first time I met you, which was years ago. Probably it might have been when you were a cadet, but let's just say when you became a police officer. You are the same when it comes to your appearance, your professionalism, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you show respect to others, and your own work ethic, that you want to do a good job. You want to continue to improve and learn. All of those things are exactly the same today as they were almost, what you said, 20 plus years ago?
About 26 years.
26 years,
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So some people start off a certain way, but then along the way they lose something. They lose their drive. Maybe because they didn't get an opportunity to do something, they get disgruntled or complacent. You haven't done that. You are exactly, maybe you're more fit. I don't know, you're cut and everything, so maybe you're spending more time in the gym.
I don't know about that.
Spending more time in the gym, but I know you can hit a golf ball. I've seen you do that.
I might be able to.
But still, I think that's important, that your morals and values, your professionalism, your work ethic, everything is right on. And it's obvious that's part of your life because it's been that way for all those years. So, and I know that that's going to continue, and we are so fortunate here in Springfield Township to have you.
Well, thank you very much. I would definitely say that if the foundation's good, and I have my family and all of those around me when I was young to thank for that. The foundation's good, the rest of it falls into place. And there have been changes over the years, certainly at different times. It's going to happen, but as long as you keep those core values in place and you come back to them when things do go kind of sideways or things get rough, I think that in the end you'll find the right light, and it takes the support of family. It takes the support of whatever you are involved with, whether it's religion or whatever your guiding light is. You have to remember those principles.
And also the mental health resources that are available today are extremely important. They weren't available when I entered the workforce. Those just weren't available, and I'm so thankful that those resources are available to police and fire today. That's so important.
I would agree. I think that what I've seen over the years on the police side, and certainly my personal journey, has been that we do go on those calls. You see things that most people don't or shouldn't, and they will affect you as a human being. They're going to affect you. Police, fire, public works, just in government response to massive events and things that are going on. You see these things. You deal with them. Different people deal with them in different ways. And coming back to kind of the hospitality idea, the people part of SHIP, in my role as a captain at the police department, one of my leadership principles is servant leadership. And so I believe that mental health and physical health are very closely tied together. Taking the time to make sure that you're taking care of yourself is crucial in what we do. And in my role, giving the officers that we have the needed resources in those areas is a big part of what I do on a daily basis.
Oh, that's so important. And you lead by example.
And that's another, again, piece of how I was raised. I think that's important. If I'm not walking the walk, but I am asking others to do it, that's not who I am. So, we do a very good job as a township. Our administration, the trustees, are extremely supportive of us taking care of each other. And so being not only on the hospitality committee, but being on the township's wellness committee, that's a big part of my daily interaction with our officers, is making sure that they're taken care of. That's my goal, is to take care of them. And again, it's sometimes this therapy for us, those of us who are on those committees, to be able to talk to them and say, hey, what can I do to help you out, or what can I do to make your day a little bit better? And that might be taking 5 minutes from what I was getting ready to go do to go clean up the gym or help refill something, the water, or something to that effect. I mean, very small things that you can do throughout the day. But in my role, my job really is to take care of them and make sure they have what they need to be effective on the street and have those positive interactions with the public.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the positive interaction, because that's one of the things that I have seen you do in the past as well as currently, is that you're always there to offer positive words of encouragement. Now, in your role as a captain, there's times when you have to be assertive and you have to correct a situation, whatever that may be. But for the most part, when your officers are making an effort, or they've done something well, you're always there as one of the first ones to offer that positive reinforcement. Hey, good job, that kind of stuff. That's what keeps you going. We all like to have a pat on the back, and you're really, really, really good at that.
That comes from those that have come before me that did the same thing.
Yeah, the mentors.
We all have people in our careers and in our lives that we look at and we take good things and bad things from. You try not to repeat the bad things or the things that you remember as not being most positive. But if you can take those that really made a big impression on you and find a way to fit that into whether it's your leadership style or your supervision style, or even just your way of going about your daily business, my experience has been that positive things come from that. You will continue to grow. Every interaction that you have with somebody, you can take something away, whether it's good or bad. And so we have those that have come before me in both leadership roles and I would say even patrol officers that I worked with that weren't technically in a leadership position, but were informal leaders, have taught me a lot of that stuff. And my hope is that I'm able to pass that down to those that are around me and that I'm working with and working for, and who are working with me on a daily basis, to be able to give them something, maybe a different perspective that would help them out.
Man, you are the total package.
I'm not. I'm not. It's a constant
work in progress.
It's a constant work in progress. I do believe that lifelong learning is is definitely something that we all have to be.
We are so fortunate to have you as part of our team and as our leadership team as well. Hospitality is more than a program or a slogan. It's a commitment to treat every person with dignity, respect, and professionalism. Today's conversation with Captain Peterson reminds us that the public service is ultimately about people, relationships, and empathy. Be kind and create moments that matter. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the Steering the Ship in Springfield Township podcast. And a special thank you to Waycross Community Media for providing their podcast services and studio. Until next time, remember, every interaction is an opportunity to create a moment that matters. I'm Rob Leininger with production director Caitlin Gagnon, and this has been Steering the Ship in Springfield Township podcast.